Hi everybody, so today I'm going to talk about what I think might be the coolest dominant chord, the 13 flat 9, and how you can use this spicy and exotic sound to add a bit of modern intrigue to your music. Welcome to Jazz Guitar Scrapbook. If you check out the link below in the description, there's a handout with all of the shapes, the chord shapes, and the licks and things that we're going to talk about today. Now, if you watched my recent video about chord substitutions, you might remember that I divided dominant chords into two categories. And the first, what I call color dominants, which are things like, C13, C9 sharp 11th, stuff like that, usually belonging to what you might call the mixer Lydian or Lydian dominant modes, that kind of thing, and resolving dominants, which usually have things like flat 5s, flat 9s, flat 13s, sharp 9s, that kind of stuff, right? Basically the altered notes, which in modern jazz theory is kind of systematized into the altered scale. And these tend to, not always, but largely in like standards and straight ahead jazz, they tend to have a resolving function. You don't really want to sit on them too long unless you're really making a point. We just use that sharp 5 just for a minute to take us into C6-9, right? It's a kind of short-lived bit of spice. Now the great thing about 13 flat 9 chords is you can just sit on them, or you can resolve them. They work for both. They have a very unusual sort of sound, but they do work as a sort of colour. So for instance, if I'm playing the bridge of rhythm changes, and we've got D7, G7, C7, F7, then I can just very easily turn those into 13 flat 9 chords. Just very sort of cool, for want of a better word. In a way that I don't quite get with the sort of straight ahead altered dominants. I think it's worth talking a little bit about where they came from. I think they are generated by something that you get a lot in jazz standards. So if you see a 2-5-1, C major for instance, actually the notes that you often see, especially towards the end of jazz standards in the final cadence, is you'll often see the third of the key above the 2-7 and the 5-7 chord, and then it will go down to the root of the key over the 1 chord. So it'll be something like this. Really common, especially in, I think, pre-war standards. So you've got chords like this. This is All of Me, for instance. And they make a 9th with the D-7 there, and a 13th with the G7. It's an E each time. And then down to the C for the final chord, right? Now, I think it's quite natural to want a bit of chromatic voice movement there to join the dots, and then you get that sound, right? Which is kind of harking a little bit back, I think, to 19th century harmony, back to Chopin and Brahms and people like that. And it's also part of the major 6 diminished scale. So if I play C major 6 diminished, it's like a C major scale but with an added note there, which is of course the note that's in this chord. So all of those notes for these chords exist within the C major 6 diminished scale. Barry devotees will enjoy that, hopefully. And that's an interesting quality because it's not quite diatonic to any key. You can't say it's borrowed from the minor key, right? Because this thing has the major third in it, right? But it also doesn't quite belong to the major key because of the flat 6. So it's kind of looking both ways. So another chord shape you often get is one that Django uses in Manoir de mes rêves, sorry about the French, or Django's Castle, as it's known in English. And this is. And the melody, again on the third, but again it goes to the 5th on the 1 chord. Now you'll often see Diminished jazz players playing this sort of stuff as a substitution for a 2-5-1. In fact, actually the name of this chord, or how it's referred to in Diminished jazz circles, would be generally a 13 flat 9, even though it's a B flat in the bass. The bass might play A underneath it, right? Now I'm fairly sure Django didn't know what a harmonic major scale was from A Hole in the Road, but you can hear him quite clearly playing what we would today call a harmonic major scale. Which is a bit like the Barry Harris scale with the 6th taken out, so it's just a major scale. In this case we're in D. The flat 6 instead of a normal 6th. It's rare to hear it played melodically like that, which is why almost I don't think it is a thing. But it kind of has a sort of interesting quality, which you can hear, again, melodies by people like Radiohead, you can often hear the scale, but it doesn't tend to dwell on... It doesn't tend to dwell on that interval. A bit like, I suppose, the harmonic minor in classical music, you will skip out the funny interval there. But it is kind of a thing that people use for melodies. Historically, the harmonic major was first recognised by Rimsky-Korsakov, apparently, in his theory book. So it does have some pedigree going back beyond the modern jazz era, even though I heard one guy say they invented it in the 70s. It kind of gives you this sort of, again, 19th century sound, the flat 6. The mixture of flat 6 and major key. Which is funny because I said this would be about giving you a modern sound in your playing. But I just want to sort of reinforce the point that these sounds have been around for a long time. Now the difference I think in modern jazz is they're used much more freely. We just plonk them down wherever we like and they always sound great. But B flat 7, and then E flat 7, and it instantly gives you that kind of angular sound. And one of the best ways you can evoke that sound very quickly is to put a major triad on top of the bass note. So we're just going to use, in this case for B flat, we're going to use G major. And if I run the B flat sound into the G sound, it sounds really cool in itself. If we just play this chord, yeah, especially if you have the flat 9, which is one of my favourite things to do. I've actually got a tune that's based around this melodic idea, which is off my album, which you can order below. It's called Bib Soup. Don't ask why, but that has that kind of very exotic sound already. And this again, it's quite a way, it's quite old-fashioned. I mean, Johnny Smith talks about doing this. But you might want to get that substitution burned into your ears and your fingers, because it's a great way to play dominant chords, basically. So I mean, I could play something like Limehouse Blues. Cool and hip and spicy way of just dressing up ordinary dominant chords. I absolutely love it. You can, of course, relate it to the diminished scale, in which case you can take advantage of the symmetrical nature of the diminished chord. So the diminished chord contains both 13 and the flat 9 and the rest of the dominant chord, the 1, 5, flat 7 and third, or whatever order you play them in. It contains all of that. So but again, playing the diminished scale up and down like that, and again, Rimsky-Korsakov had that scale, right? Just playing that one up and down is a little bit dull. I think it's usually more interesting to try and find symmetrical things you can play. So, and these will all work with the flat 9. Yeah, sounds pretty hip to me. Explore those sorts of sounds. You can use minors as well, that's fine, although if I just play the minor on there, it's a bit dull, so you lose the flat 9. But then if I move it around, it sounds quite cool when I move it around by thirds. Very cool sounds. This is all minor third symmetry, which is a very simple but effective way to start to evoke this kind of half-whole diminished scale sort of sound. I've talked a bit more about it in the Alan Holdsworth video as well. He uses the sound a lot on his solo on Nuage. One of the modern masters of this particular sound, I think, is Peter Bernstein. If you listen to his playing, you can always pick out his use of this. I just want to draw attention to two little Peter Bernstein things using this scale sound. One thing is to use this chord in a minor key. So, for instance, if I'm playing the tune Alone Together, we have a 2-5-1 in D minor. It goes E minor 7 flat 5 normally, A7, D minor. And Peter kind of uses the sort of 13 flat 9 sound to play all the way over the 2-5 and then resolves to the minor scale. So he plays something that sounds a bit like this. Okay, so this is the device I think Peter Bernstein's using here. I think he's using a sort of compound triad with both a major and a minor third. And this is, in the original key, it's going to be F sharp. Yeah? On the A13 flat 9. How cool does that sound? Really love it. So it's kind of got the root, the flat 9, the 13th and the 3rd of the underlying chord, if you want to look at it that way. But I look at it as a substitute. So again, it's like, I guess you could say, placing the major or minor triad and minor third below the root of the chord. Super hip anyway. And if we play this in context, I'll make something up using the same device. So it's, let's do it on, what is this thing called, Love? And that's just using that simple substitution. Lastly, I want to talk about a voice leading thing. So we can take a turnaround progression, 3, 6, 2, 5. And we can actually just take it in descending triads, because that's a D minor 7 flat, just an ordinary D minor 7. That's another voicing of the 13 flat 9 sound, this time without a root. C minor 7, 13 flat 9. So that's really cool. And again, there's that moving triad on top. That's a really cool sound. And we can change it by using these 11th chord grips to give us a little bit more kind of interesting voice leading there. There's something Peter demonstrates on a video that I'll link to if it's still up. Listen to Peter, he uses the sound a lot. It's great. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.